Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome back. I'm going to invite our guest. Another episode of Word on the Block. And there we have it. Make sure everybody can hear me. Make sure my. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes. Hey, Ken. How are
I'm
you?
doing excellent. How are you?
I am well. I love that this is our first time actually like talking video. We've been connected on LinkedIn for how long now?
A couple of years.
It's been a couple
Let me
of
let me
years.
see. I
We've been,
came I came to Florida in maybe like 4 or 5 years ago. So like some time. Yeah.
yes, we've been connected on LinkedIn for years now.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And I've loved watching your journey and kind of seeing everything that's been going on your side because every time I see an update, I'm just like, I got to reach out and say, hey. And the funny thing is, I could do better with reaching out to more people, but I especially thought that you're definitely making moves.
Oh, I appreciate that. Your sister said, look, she said, that's my brother. Yes. Me not like, come on, support your brother. Our brothers need their love, right?
Oh yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you. Yes, it's been an interesting journey to do what we're doing, but entrepreneurship is an interesting journey, right?
Oh, absolutely. I think it's probably the most interesting thing that it's one of the hardest things that you could do because of the security
Look,
factor, right? You're just kind of jumping out there and doing something, and then you're just like, all right,
wish me
just take it
luck,
day by day.
people. Wish me luck.
Exactly. And but it's always good to have people to help you and people to connect with and talk to as you're going through the entrepreneurial journey.
Absolutely. But before we go too deep in, I think it's important that you introduce yourself to the people as they join us. Tell us who it's Ken.
All right. So I'm Ken Vermeil. I'm the founder and CEO of Vermilion Sky. People work with us when they're looking to build an application, whether that be a mobile application or a web application. They also come to us when something's wrong with their software platform and they either want to upgrade it or tweak it or mold it so that it better fits the market. And so we work with a variety of entrepreneurs across like fintech, health tech, sports tech, uh, essentially helping them build and grow their software.
Oh, okay. So we have, I look, come on with the questions already. Yes. Okay. So the question is, what are some things as an entrepreneur that you wish you learned sooner? Oh, I got a bunch of answers to that, but I'm gonna let you go. I'm gonna let you go first because that's a real question.
So I think the biggest thing to really know, well, the biggest thing that I wish that I learned was really having there's this new concept that I'm coming up with, which is called the money bridge. I'm not going to call it the
Okay.
money bridge because that doesn't test well with people, but it's essentially what are the steps that you need to do to make money, right? It doesn't matter how much money it is, you could scale that later. But as long as you have an understanding of I do this, I do that, I do this, I do that, and then the money in my bank account goes up. That's really all you have to do. And then after that, you just have to figure out, all right, let's kind of make this
Mhm.
easier
Mhm.
and make it so that
Mhm.
it's not a bridge, it's like a money slide. And so
Mhm.
I originally went into business saying like, well, I'm creative, I'm smart, I know how to do these things. And none of that actually matters until I built the money bridge.
Oh my
So
goodness.
that is the biggest thing that I've learned. And this can apply to anything. If you are doing speaking engagements, right? You need to reach out to people, you need to book them, you have to send them an invoice, you have to do all of these things. And so once you figure out all those steps, you just optimize you optimize along the bridge and figure out where there's any I guess traffic jams.
I yes, whew, that is one of the bigger problems around entrepreneurship because we do believe in our skills so much that
Oh
we
yeah.
like the money is going to be there. But yeah, what had happened was the money gets delayed often. The money gets
Oh yeah.
delayed often. Um, so without repeating your answer, because I 1,000% echo that answer. One thing that I feel like I wish I would have known earlier about entrepreneurship, I think I would say systems and automations, right? So that my business is working when I'm not.
Oh yeah.
Because even when you have a tech platform or an app or website, even there's still other things that you have to set up in the background so that when somebody email you, it goes into this bucket, and then when they do this, it goes here. Right, like those funnels to kind of
Hmm.
keep your customer experience going. I wish that was something that I would have learned sooner, but I know now, and so my only chance at doing it is to be better with what I know now.
Absolutely. There's a funny I guess meme going around, and it's a sign that says like we didn't start doing this because we think that it was easy. We started doing it. Actually, no, I'm saying it wrong. It's something along the lines of we thought this was easy, and so we started doing it. And the reason why we're doing it not the best way is because we thought it was easier. It's way harder than it needed to be.
It's
So that's really everybody's like story. It's just like, oh yeah, I could do this thing. And then when you have to do it, day in and
I
day
said,
out,
would life punch you in your face
yep,
about 72 times? Because you absolutely have to love what you're doing, because
oh
that's
yeah,
how you know you're not going to go on again, off again, on again, off again, because you actually enjoy what you're doing and you're like, it's going to pay off.
oh yeah, yeah. That's also a lot of people quit when they get to the point where it gets really, really hard. And
Hmm.
one of the things that you shouldn't do is quit when you get to that point because that's actually that could be where everybody else quits. If you keep going and if
Absolutely.
you keep persevering and pushing forward, it could be a situation where you never figure out the issue, but you find out something else to do, and that could contribute to
Absolutely.
your success.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We have another question. I love it. Thank you for the
Mhm.
questions. Come on, because I had some, but you know what? Let's keep this going. Okay. Um, do you market your brand as a Black business? If so, why? If not, do you think your identity plays a role in your business strategy? Oh, absolutely. Do you want to take that? Or because
Well,
I, you know.
I took the first one, so you take this one, and I'll.
So, do I market it as a Black business? I market Block as a Black owned business. Yes. Do I only market to Black people? No. But if I looked up and I only had Black customers, would I be upset? No. You know what I mean? Like, so I feel like home exchange itself is absolutely hospitality at its core. So I'm in hospitality. I enjoy serving people, I enjoy welcoming people. But my voice, my tone, and my strategy is absolutely going to be from a perspective as a Black woman, as a Black traveled woman, as a Black woman in tech. And so I don't necessarily change my tone of my business so that it's digestible to others.
Mhm.
Um, but I do keep it to where it's authentic to who I am, if that makes, hopefully that answers the question.
I think that's an excellent response because, yeah, part of your business is, especially when you're starting, it's you. So you're not going to want to, you should never change yourself. You should never, sorry. If there are things that you know that are wrong, you should change those. But
Absolutely,
outside of
growth
that,
is important.
yes, outside of that, it is important to say, hey, this is me, this is my authentic self, and I'm going to bring that perspective to the table. Um, for me, uh, I essentially have two brands, right? There's the me brand, and obviously I'm black. And
Oh my
when
God,
I put myself
no.
out, yeah, when I put myself out there, sometimes people are surprised. They're like, "Oh," I remember I was doing an interview with, we were hiring for engineers, right? And I make sure that we always do a video call because I want people to know who I am. I'm not going to shy away from that.
Absolutely.
Funnily enough, years ago, like when I first started, I was a little bit worried. I used to not do the video calls. I used to say, well, I'm just going to try and kind of be like a blank face and hopefully people will hire me.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
I got over it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I was talking to this guy, and we got on the video, and he was like, "Oh, you're black," and he was like, "Oh shoot, I shouldn't have said that." He was wait, he was he was mixed. He was half black, half white, but it was just surprising to him. It was surprising to him. So
Okay.
I don't necessarily, when it comes to like the business itself, I don't necessarily say like, um, I don't necessarily market it as a black business. I do a lot of the marketing and people see that I'm black. There are things that I do, and there are even phrases that I used with my clients. And sometimes I'm just like, oh, yeah, you're not going to get that. And so I don't edit it, but I just explain what's going on.
Yes.
So I think that it's really important to just be yourself and bring your perspectives from your life and essentially let people know like yeah, we might not have grown up on the same block, but here's where I'm valuable to you, and clearly you're going to be valuable to me because we're exchanging perspectives.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I do believe in exactly what you just said, right? Like, if I can add value to whomever I am being called to serve in that moment, perfect, amazing, great job, but I don't intend on, and because, Block is a home exchange company, right? And
Hmm.
so because we're home exchange, that is very much welcoming, a sense of belonging, feeling comfortable, setting a vibe. And so in order to do all those things as the founder, I have to be most authentic, right? Like I
Yep.
can't shapeshift because it's only so long that you're going to be able to shapeshift without without it all crumbling. And so I just give myself permission to show up as who I am, and then the people that get it, great. And the people that don't, also great. No problem at
Oh
all.
yeah. Because so, like, when you first start a business, it is going to be you, right? Eventually, later down the line, when you have 20, 30 employees, then you do have like a corporate brand, and that brand has its own voice, and it's not necessarily tied to you. And to be honest, once you get to that point, you don't necessarily want it to be, you don't want the brand to be you per se, because you're going to want to go on vacation. And so people need to be able to run the business without you because you're on vacation. You're traveling and enjoying the world. So um yeah, in the beginning, just let people know who you are, and eventually uh parts of your parts of your personality are always going to be imbued into the business. As you bring on other people, their personality is going to be imbued into the business as well, and then it becomes something that is like beyond you. But once you even get there, the most important thing is figure out who you're serving first and then adjust your corporate brand to them. So if you are, serving um, a particular demographic, then yes, make sure that, well, it's easier if you're aligned with that
Mm-hmm.
brand, but
Mm-hmm.
just make sure that your brand aligns with what you're trying to do in the world.
Absolutely agreed. But you know what? I'm this going to be the last thing about me. Then I'm going to throw all the
Mhm.
questions at you because you're here to talk. You're here. This is a you
Oh
conversation.
no, it's fine.
But I'm realizing that I am building a brand where um, me as the founder will be associated to it often. Kind of like when you think of Airbnb, you think of, Brian. And when you think
Mhm.
of Tesla, you think of Elon Musk,
Mhm.
right? Like part of my branding is going to be tied to Block.
Yep.
but it's going to have its own culture, and that culture, to your point, will be shaped and morphed and refined as we serve more of our customers, as we bring more of our team on, as we understand more about the market. But yeah, that's what I feel like from
Oh,
a branding perspective of my own.
yeah. And it's important. It's how you get your like the first people that you deal with, you're going to be dealing with them. It's, you don't have you don't necessarily, I'm not saying you, but I'm saying like if
Yeah.
you say I'm going to start a business tomorrow, you don't have customer support, you don't have you don't have people in the field, you don't have anything. It's just you. And so you are your brand, and as your business grows, you know, you move away from your brand.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you're having a baby. It's
Mm-hmm.
the baby comes out, yeah, the baby has like a piece of your personality, but they have a life of their own.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, speaking about that,
Hmm.
as we talk about early businesses starting out early, tell the people what a MVP is, and which is minimum viable product.
Hmm.
Tell them what that looks like, because, and I know a lot of people say, "Oh my goodness, you're a tech founder. Oh my goodness, what does it mean to be a tech founder?" But they don't necessarily know where to start or even how to think about starting. So, what is an MVP?
So the MVP is the minimum viable product. So it's going to be the first thing that you put out there to your customers. There's a lot of different definitions to MVP, but the definition that I like is how is the quickest way that you can provide value to somebody and where they will give you money. Because there have been a lot of products, especially when I first started, I think about 15, 16 years ago. We did a bunch of products, but the problem is none of them had like enough traction in none of them had enough traction to make money. Like
Okay.
we made like this app in where it would predict whether or not it would be a snow day for kids when I was in New
Okay.
York.
Okay.
Cool idea. We took the weather from like the National Weather Service. We did a bunch of like calculations. It was cool. It looked nice. It was unique and awesome. But kids don't have money. High school kids don't have money, and they were the target demographic. And even though we built something cool, it didn't make money. So you just want to make sure that your minimum viable product is something that brings money. This means that you're just building something. It's not necessarily going to be pretty. It's not going to have all of the features that you want. It's probably going to have bugs. It will probably break a lot. But if you're able to validate the business idea to the point where people are willing to pay for a subscription or pay you for something, then you have something, and then you can go back and fix it. With any new business idea, what's going to happen is you're going to like it's going to seem like really awesome in your mind, and the moment that you the moment that it gets out there and the moment that you put it into the world, that's when things start to happen. And so you don't want to spend 2, 3 years building something only to find out that, oh, wow, nobody wants this, or, oh, wow, it actually doesn't work because, we don't have infinite money. So
Absolutely.
part of the minimum viable product is to make sure that you spend enough money to get something out there that works, but you don't overspend and waste hundreds of thousands of dollars. So instead of wasting hundreds of thousands of dollars, you may spend like maybe 10 grand, right? But that 10 grand, you would essentially get 10 grand of learning and figuring out the market, because once you've spent that set of money, then you have a good understanding as to what people really want to do.
So, I just want to make sure I understand you correctly,
Mhm.
because so are you saying that, okay, someone has an idea and there is a way that they can test it with like several software services that already exist? Are you saying that they should build their own or patch those up to get the value to test the market first?
I, I'm saying if you, so it depends on where you are, right? So there's the concept of like, I'm starting a new idea. This thing doesn't exist yet. I want to go out into the market, but there are no competitors. There's nobody's doing anything like this, and we need to test this idea. And so you should do it. If you're in that situation, you should do it as cheaply as possible. If you can piece lot of things together and get it to kind of work, which you're not necessarily testing like, hey, can we build this software? Because you can find people to build you software. What you're testing is, will people give us money for this on a consistent basis?
Mm-hmm.
Or will people at least, buy the yearly plan?
Mm-hmm.
So eh, people don't care necessarily like what's underneath the hood. They just want to make sure that it works.
Right.
Like when somebody buys a Ferrari, they don't like open it up and I mean maybe they do. I don't have a Ferrari.
Right.
But
Maybe they know what they're doing. Right.
yeah. But
I don't know
if I
nothing
were
about engines anyway.
yeah, if I were to buy a Ferrari, I wouldn't like open it up and say, you guys aren't using the latest V8 engine. I don't care. I just, the purpose of buying the Ferrari is to make me look good. So to me, it doesn't even need to run. It could just be there. I take pictures with it, and then that's it. But as long as whatever you're building fulfills whatever that purpose is, it doesn't matter the intricacies. You could even go as far as not building anything and just building a landing page and then sending traffic
Mm-hmm.
to that landing page and then
Mm-hmm.
seeing whether or not people click the buy now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, that's one way to save a lot of money because you could build a landing page in a day, um, get traffic to it through paid ads, spend maybe like $100 on Google or $100 on Facebook or Meta or any one of those things, and then test to see whether or not people can do that.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you can
Mm-hmm.
test the distribution first, then you could say, okay, well, this is a good idea. If you send a
Okay.
thousand people to a landing page and nobody clicks, um, then you might want to reevaluate the idea. But if you send 1,000 people and everybody clicks, and then now you're getting like DMs from people who found you because you said something about the idea on a podcast, and people are like saying like, "Hey, take my money," then you should definitely build that. So it
Yes.
doesn't matter. So there's like bad broken software, which is your MVP. And then once you figure out that it works, then you jump into building something a little bit more polished, something that is better. And from there, you go after, your enterprise or bigger clients or
Agreed.
bigger
Agreed.
usage base.
Yes. Agreed. I'm the type that I would test the idea, and I know this is taught amongst other accelerator programs and
Mhm.
like the people that get something out there fast and like don't worry about what it looks like, worry about if people actually like it,
Yep.
right? And then you can go. But now that we live in an age where you can produce something rather quickly that looks halfway decent, then
Hmm.
that's another level of it. Okay, so now they have the idea, they're ready to build their MVP.
Hmm.
What would you say the next three steps would be to bring this thing to life? Like you said, run ad, like
Yeah.
how do you generally walk your clients through what next steps could look like?
So what we're doing now is we're trying to get our clients to build an audience first. So
Yes.
it is much easier to do anything as long as you do founder-led sales, founder-led social media, and you kind of make yourself you make yourself the star, right?
Mm-hmm.
If your face is out there and you're telling people about, hey, I'm building this thing, would you like to test? Would you like to be part of our beta group? If they're DMing you and asking you like, hey, are you having this issue? Can I learn more about what's going on? That's actually before we build anything, it's hey, let's do a lot of groundwork in
Mm-hmm.
building the audience, talking about the problem, creating
Mm-hmm.
content, because this
Mm-hmm.
is going to be the thing. Like we handle all the technology, all the design. If something breaks in the middle of the night, we tackle that. But what we don't do is we're not going to be the face of your business. And so all of the blog posts, the LinkedIn posts, the TikToks, the all of that, that has to be a consistent thing that is done by the initial, well, by the founder or the initial team that's on the ground. So
Hmm.
it's because then everything just becomes much easier. For instance,
Absolutely.
there's a guy, he's a developer, and he has a large X audience,
Okay.
and he just kind of vibe codes, and he released this game. It's a flight simulator game that he used AI to code,
Hmm.
and he's making like $50,000 right now. And he's not making
Um,
$50,000 a month because it is, it's a unique idea or it's novel. He's making 50K because he has an audience.
yes.
So as it's very difficult to build an audience. And so if you start
Hmm.
now, even if you don't have an idea, but if you start now, you grow your audience, you get people to know about your product, then it is much easier to build something, even if it's bad. You could build something and then iterate towards it being great.
Agreed.
So
Agreed.
audience,
Hmm.
MVP,
Hmm.
and then you start figuring out like by this time you should have made your first sale by
Okay.
just by having the audience and having the
Okay.
product and inviting people and getting them to test it. And then from there it's determining the people who are similar to the people who get the most value from your
Okay.
product and go after them. There are a lot of ways to go after them. I'm a fan of doing, if it's a B2B, of doing cold email outreach, meaning um, I guess what people are doing now is there's a product called Clay, and essentially you could say, I'm looking for mid-level market managers in the insurance field who are in companies that are between $5 to $10 million, who are who use this type of software or who use, the competitor software.
Okay.
And then if you have 5,000 of those people, you can send an email, send a couple of, well, send 5,000 or more emails to them saying, hey, we have this product. We know that you're using this competitor. We can help you benefit one, benefit two, benefit three with feature one, feature two, feature three. Let's
Hmm.
hop on a call and then begin the selling process. So a lot of the tech, it's not necessarily just like building a great product. It's also going out there, meeting people, getting in front of them, learning about what they are, like the problems that they're dealing with, and then taking that feedback and putting it in your software.
Okay, so build your brand essentially, right? Your brand, your audience, let people know who you are, what problem you're
Yep.
solving. Then go with the MVP,
Hmm.
allow them to actually test it. And then you said that the next thing would be is to essentially draw in more of the audience.
Yep. Once you have the software working, um, it's you have to start scaling. You have to start getting people into the product. So most likely your MVP works well enough for you to make money. Now you're going to either need money for new features or you're going to need money to do marketing or do outreach. A lot of the stuff in the beginning, so if you're under $10,000 a month, it's going to be the founder going out there, knocking on doors and getting the money into the platform. Um,
Absolutely.
Once you're kind of between the 20 and $30,000 a month, then you can start investing in outbound outreach. Then you can start paying for you can start paying for things that make your life easier, and you can start bringing on teammates who do certain things like customer service. So with anything that you build, you are going to need customer service because things are going to break. If you have people giving you like, 5, 10K a month and something breaks, it's either going to be you or it's going to be somebody that you hire. And
Hmm.
so you definitely have to make sure that you have those teammates in order so that you could spend more time thinking and scaling and meeting with people. So
Absolutely.
Once you get to like the 50K and plus, then that's where you start getting like VP of sales, VP of marketing. Then you start bringing on people on a more permanent long-term basis, and you start scaling up. So
Absolutely.
the other thing is a lot of this can stop. You can stop at, hey, we built an MVP. It sucks. Luckily, you built a brand, and so you could say, hey, we're gonna
That
build
didn't
another
work.
MVP.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna build another MVP.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, awesome. We built this MVP, and it looks like there's some traction. Now we can start bringing people into the audience. Okay, well that
Agreed.
doesn't like there's so many things that you could do. It's just
Experiment.
knowing what to do when things happen.
Absolutely. I agree. And oftentimes, I think people throw the whole idea away, and it's not necessarily the idea that's bad, it's the way in which you convey the idea, the way in
Yep.
which you speak about it, the way in which you identify it, right? And I had to learn that. And if I'm being honest, I feel like that's a lesson that is just a continual thing,
Hmm.
right? Learning how to articulate the problem, learning how to talk about it in a way, because we tend to talk when you're eating it all the time, you talk the jargon. So, right,
Yeah.
like you said, B2B. And so, for those who may have heard him say B2B, he's saying business to business. So, if you're selling from, say you are Samsung and you're selling to AT&T, those are two businesses and they're selling to each other.
Hmm.
The alternative is B2C. You're Samsung and you're selling to Smella, and Smella is a consumer, right? And so oftentimes the language is totally different depending on who you're talking to,
That's true.
because
100%.
it matters who you're speaking to. And so people think that they have to throw the whole idea away, and oftentimes it's not throwing the idea away, it's refining the marketing, the messaging, the value proposition, why it matters, the benefits, helping your customers understand it better. So okay, so you at what point do your clients generally come to you? Are they in the at the MVP stage, or are they hey, we just raised a new round and we want to just go kill it? Like, when do you usually see them? Are you seed founders, series A? Like, where are you usually at?
Well, a lot of our clients generally come from, hey, we hired this team overseas. Things are not working out the way that we would want it to work out. Can
That,
you,
that's a real struggle.
yeah,
It is.
can
It
you like
is.
look at this code and kind of see what's going on in there? And then, when that's 80%
It's real.
of the people who come
That's
through.
real.
And the thing is, they've hit some type of scale.
Yeah.
Like it works, and then the bottleneck is not.
Oh,
Yeah, the bottleneck is not that they don't have an idea or if they know if it's going to work out or anything like that. It's just like, no, we have a hit, but it's just not able to scale.
okay.
And
Okay.
so we come in and then we just rebuild
Okay.
everything. Well, we kind of take what we can use because
Okay.
it's usually we've never like thrown out 100% of everything. I
Okay.
think we've only done it like once because
It
it,
just wasn't. It
yeah,
wasn't. They got you,
there
bro.
was
They got you.
nothing.
Just hang it up. Just hang it up. Let's start from the ground up. It's going to be better to start over.
Yeah. So we use what we can get, and then we just rebuild it, and then it's usually just better. But by that time, the founder knows so much more
Mm,
because all
mm,
of the customer service requests,
mhm,
all of the complaints, like all that stuff,
mhm.
we get to start from a new foundation and then rebuild it from that perspective.
Okay.
And so that's usually where they come from. Um, there are times in where some clients might have they might be getting ready to raise another round.
Okay.
And when this
Okay. So they've raised
happens,
already, essentially.
yes. And so they have KPIs to hit.
Okay.
And so we'll help them. So they have KPIs to hit. It's also expensive and time consuming to hire an engineer just
Hmm.
because you have to go through
The
you have to go through the
process.
interviews, you have to
Hmm.
you have to
Hmm.
test them, you have to bring them in, and it's a lot. And if you put out a job post like right now and say, "Hey, I'm hiring for somebody," you're going to get 200 people who are going to try and get that job. And that might sound good, but when you have so many people trying to get the job, you have to make the right
Mhm.
decision,
Yeah,
and it could take
yeah,
you 3 to 6 months to actually hire somebody.
yeah.
And so when you don't have that time and you just want like a pre-built team that's ready to go, that knows how to do things, and somebody that you could also fire easily, because that's also
Yeah.
like a plus. um you can then, that's when they come to us and they're like, "Hey, look, we have a 6 month runway, we want to build something, we're looking to get to the next funding phase, we have these three features that we want to do." We come in, we build the features, we step out, and if they need help then hiring other people to kind of take over where we left off, we help in that process, because I've interviewed a lot of people,
You
and
know,
I know
yeah.
how to hire a good dev. And even today, it's not as easy as it's still not easy. But
Right.
we've gone through the process. We could vet people, and we have a network of people who are good, and we know that they're good because we've either placed them someplace or um or we've worked with them in the past.
Okay, okay, okay. So before we go deeper into, the sexy language of technology that's hitting today, you already know where I'm gonna go with that. But before we go there, you already know. Tell us, how did you get started? What is your background? How did you
Oh,
get into bringing your business to life? What is your story? I'm sorry, we just jumped in and got right to
no,
it.
no, no, it's fine. I'm kind of like that. I do need to work on that. That's something that, like, my wife is always like, "Hey, you have to talk to people about you." I'm just like, "Yeah,
I was totally
eventually."
supposed to do that. I'm gonna take the blame. Tell her I'm gonna take the blame this time. I was supposed to ease into that, but then we just jumped right in and just started talking about founder stuff. So tell us,
Mm.
how did you get to where you are? What is your background, education? What? Tell us. Put us in the game.
Yes. So when I was 8 years old, I would go around telling people, "Hey, when I grow up, I'm going to be a brain surgeon."
Wow,
Because I was like, "Hey, that's like a cool thing to say. It's really
it
smart."
is.
I grew up, everyone's like, "Oh, you're so smart. You're the..." So I'm just like, "Yeah, I'll choose something hard, brain surgeon, and then I'll do it." So from then on, I was like, "Okay, I chose brain surgeon. That's what I'm gonna do." I went to high school. I, did everything that, I said, "Okay, I finished high school. I'm gonna go to college. I'm gonna go to college for biological and chemical engineering so that I could go and be a doctor." Right?
Okay.
That was the thing, because I like technology. Oh, I wanted to be a doctor, but I like technology, and I was just like, I'll split the baby, technology, medicine, put
Mhm,
that together. That'll
mhm,
be a thing.
mhm.
And also, it was a new degree. Uh,
Okay.
so, so I was like, okay, this is kind of like what I wanted.
Okay.
Um, so I think in my second year, we did a DNA lab. And when we were doing the DNA lab, they hyped up DNA. It was like we were weeks on, like, okay, well, this is what DNA does and this is how it works and all that stuff. And then we were going to like quantify, we're gonna like figure out like who done it. It was like kind of like you have to figure out if this DNA belongs to this person and if that
Okay.
DNA belongs to
Okay.
that person.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
And it was the most boring situation ever, because there was so much like hype. We were in the textbooks, we were like enjoying it, and then we did the lab, and I remember leaving, and I was just like I was scared. I was like,
Yes.
"Is this what I'm gonna do for the rest of my
Oh
life?"
my
And
God.
then and then I dropped out.
I mean, you got to make it. Look, somebody's.
Yeah,
You like, yeah, this is not what I signed up for. I wanted a little bit more excitement in my life.
yeah, yeah. So after that, I dropped out. I went to I went to like a barber shop. At the barber shop, there was like a magazine, and it was just like, "Hey, do you want to make video games?" And I was like, "Sure." And then I went home, and I was like, "All right, everybody, I'm going to Florida. I'm gonna go make video games at this video game college." that ended up being Full Sail University. I went to Full Sail, graduated from there with a bachelor's in is a computer science degree, but
Okay.
with a focus in video game development. Um, and while we were there, they were like, "Hey, you're gonna work 80 hours on these games, but it's a passion project and you're gonna love it." And then I was like, "I'm not working 80 hours a
Or
week on a
anything.
game."
Right, like at all.
So after that, I kind of had like a job set up at a game company. I didn't do it. And I said, I'm just gonna start a business. I'm gonna start a game company of my own.
Okay.
Uh, and that didn't work because what ended up happening was in me trying to run away from working 80 hours a week for somebody else, I ended up working like 120 hours a week.
For yourself.
And then, yeah, for myself, and I think I made $12,000 that year.
Mm,
Because it was the first time that I had to file
mm.
taxes. And I remember like, man, you
This is wild.
barely made anything.
Right, like this
So
wild.
but that was the first year. So
Okay.
after that, I got better. I ended up working with other agencies. I moved away from making video games to then making websites. And then from making websites, somebody wanted to make a mobile game.
Okay.
And then after I made that a tank style mobile game, we ended up making a couple of other games. And the problem with games is that it takes like a year or so to like really get it done well.
Okay.
I had a bunch of people asking me to make them like mobile apps, and then so I started making mobile apps 15 years ago, and so fast forward to now, we have a company and a team of people who make mobile apps, and uh, seen a lot. So that's pretty much my story of I was trying to become a doctor, didn't necessarily like it. I always liked tech and video games, and so I then made the transition to just doing it on my own. And I also was running away from hard work, but I ended up working super, super hard on anyway.
Being a founder.
Um, yeah, being a founder.
But you know what? I hear what I think is so amazing with your story that you just told is like you gave yourself permission to not, they're very proud of you. Yes, we are very proud of you. Yes, because
Thank you.
truly you gave yourself permission to not be stuck at something, right? And oftentimes, and we are living in a world now where people are like 40, 50, 60, 70. They're like, what am I doing? I'm living an unfulfilling life, right? So you gave yourself permission very early on to say, hold up, this is not what I want. I'm going to go ahead and change my mind. And I think what happens when you do that, you almost like start discovering things. That's awesome. Yeah, you found your way. You literally found your way because you never stopped looking for it.
Oh,
You never
yeah.
just settled. You never just said, okay, I'm just going to stop right here. I don't want my family to be disappointed in me. I don't want to have to waste this money. Like a lot of people settle because of what everybody else thinks about them or what it's going to look like. And I'm like you, like they call me Dora the Explorer. Like I done moved here, there, over there, over there, over here. And I'm not going to stop until I get exactly what I want because I do believe that fulfillment is possible. And clearly you found it because you've been doing it for 15 years now.
Yes. And I definitely think that I mean, you have to try stuff. And even though, you might not like when it's fine to move, right? Sometimes you just have to move. Sometimes you got to get up and you got to do stuff, right? I what I did was I went from New York to Florida, back to New York to Florida for a little bit, and I came back to New York, uh, got married, had kids, then came back down to Florida again.
Wow.
Not and like it was like Orlando and South Florida, but it was because I wanted to do something like well, right? I wanted to do something
Absolutely.
that not everybody
That
does. And so,
you're proud of.
yes. And so that's why
Absolutely. So what part of New York were you in?
well, the Queens, the Bronx, Brooklyn.
Oh,
I'm originally from Brooklyn.
I had no
Um
idea. Okay, did you know that I live in Brooklyn now?
Oh no, I didn't know that. Where?
Yes.
Well, not don't tell me exactly where, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, yeah. Like that's why I was like, okay, so I moved from Miami in this is 2025. I moved from Miami in 2023, December.
Hmm.
Found myself back in Chicago for a few months, longer
Hmm.
than I had imagined. That was not part of the plan,
Hmm.
but and then I made it to Brooklyn, Bedside. I made it to
Nice,
Brooklyn in June of last
Ni-
year.
nice,
Yes,
nice. Yeah,
yes, yes. So
but also
I'm
Bed-Stuy is like
happy to be
expensive now.
here. You
Yeah.
know, it's just, but at this point, even being an entrepreneur, like I am working on, and we're going to get to AI because you know we cannot not talk about AI. I cannot have a tech guy on the line and not talk about AI. So I'm going to be cautious of your time. But as an entrepreneur, and even just like mindset shifting, I just feel like I'm going to start thinking like, what is expensive? Does expensive even exist? Like, how
Mm-hmm.
much, what do I need to do so that expensive don't feel expensive, right? I mean, it's a
Hmm.
struggle. Don't get it
Okay.
twisted. I am, some days your girl got to eat noodles because she's a founder. But truly, like I want to be like there is no lack. People are like, I can't believe you moving to New York. It's so expensive there. I was like, well, God know how expensive it is when He told me to go. Like, why do I have to be concerned when He told me to get up and move there? This is gonna be on God's tab. I can't be worried about these type of things.
Well,
you know,
the interesting thing is pretty much the same thing happened when we moved from there because it was a God thing. It was like, hey, you gotta go now. I was like,
literally,
now? I was
literally,
like, look, I don't like
literally,
now. Like
literally.
the initial fear was crazy. But then I got
Mhm.
over it, and then you know, then we had to,
Do what you
things
had to
started
do.
falling into place, and then I was just like, oh, okay, cool.
This is how that God
I'm all right
thing
with that.
works. Look,
Yeah,
this is how it works. Okay, I'm gonna make sure I listen to you more often, God. Sorry about the delay.
exactly.
Sorry for the delay. I'm gonna listen more often. Okay, so AI.
Yes.
What do I want to talk about? Tell us. Okay, so are you building in AI? Does your team build in AI? What area are you guys like experts in, or what area do you love building in? Just tell us about AI. Anything AI.
So yes, we use a lot of AI and we build a lot of AI, and because of that, we are like there is a speed boost in everything that we do.
Absolutely.
So much so that clients are coming in with requests and we're getting it done. The quality is good, and they're like, "Oh," I was like, "Yeah, if you want to do more stuff, we can keep doing it." Initially, I was hesitant. And there are parts of it that I'm still hesitant about. So our developers, they're allowed to use AI to help with coding, but you still need to know your stuff.
Absolutely.
Um, and so you, what I'm seeing is when you're using AI for like work stuff, like let's say if you're a writer and then you're going to start using AI to help you write,
Mhm.
you need to exercise that skill. If you
Mhm.
don't exercise that skill, you're going to
Mhm.
lose it. And
Mhm.
somebody who has exercised that skill and
Mhm.
uses AI, they're going to be better than you.
A thousand
So
percent.
what we're doing is, at least on the workforce side, you can use AI, but you need to be able to know things. You need to be able to know the code base like the back of your hand.
Mhm.
Um, and and it is what it is.
Mhm.
Now, when it comes to any products that we're building, what we're doing is we're just finding places in where AI, like we're using kind of AI as like extra spice, right? So
Okay.
it's like, oh, this dish is all right. It just needs a little bit of cinnamon. Oh,
Right. Right. Right.
let's
Right.
add some nutmeg,
Okay.
and then it's just an enhancer.
Okay.
That's where we initially start. So if it's like, hey, you know what? We have this product, people have to fill out this form. It takes our users a lot of time to fill out the form. Then we take the AI and we start putting in AI suggestions, and then we start saying, hey,
Okay.
hey, do you want to rewrite this or do you want to tweak this? And so we do that.
Okay.
If there's a report that needs to be created, right? Because some businesses have like internal reports that have to be done and they have to be formatted in a specific way. We can kind of help people just put in the minimum amount of inputs, and then it gets sent out there. If there's a job that everybody hates doing, we can create an AI agent to do that,
Yes,
right?
yes.
So like let's say if you're like a good example that I could give away for free is, let's say if you're doing market research, and you have there's like 400,000 people who are within like this target segment, and you have access to their data. You can have the AI, you can put it into a database, have the AI comb through it, get you the most relevant info from that data,
Mm-hmm.
and then now you're just able to do your job better.
Right, right.
So what it's doing now is it's just allowing people to do your job a little bit better.
Absolutely.
Um, it's not at the point where, it's not Terminator 2 yet, right? It's not going to turn to Skynet. Um, are there things that do like scare me a little bit with AI? Kind of, sorta. Um, but I don't think that we're ever going to get to the point where AI just completely takes over everything.
Mm-hmm.
There's always going to be work, because what I've seen is, okay, cool, this AI does this new cool thing. Okay, well, now it opens up the business to do these other things that we just couldn't do
Mm-hmm.
because now that job is taken over.
Mm-hmm.
There's also a cost to the AI. So anytime that you use ChatGPT or Claude or Anthropic or even Google Gemini, it's a couple of cents here or there. And sometimes that does add up. And so that could potentially, like if it's just like, one organization using AI internally, your bill might be $100, $200 or whatever. But once you start getting to scale, then it's $10,000, $20,000,
Yeah.
$30,000. And so you just have to make sure that your spend is uh correct.
Right.
Um,
Right.
so when it comes to everything, if you wanted to make like an AI product, I would say just start with an existing product, and then
Okay.
just kind of sprinkle it and say, okay, well,
Okay.
account creation, like use it as a delighter.
Okay.
Um, After you use it as a delighter, then you can start saying, okay, well, the core functionality,
Mm-hmm.
let's try to make this better and make it easier for people.
Okay.
Um, right now, it's a tool. It's not going to. I mean, you could do a lot of cool stuff within ChatGPT if you know how to prompt it.
Yes.
It is a good skill to learn how to do, because there are definitely things in through I kind of thought like the prompting thing was a little bit of BS, because I was like, oh, but the way that I was using it was the way that people were doing it. I just didn't have a word for it. So,
Okay. Okay. Okay.
so the prompting is important, and even saying,
Absolutely.
even doing weird things like, hey, you're a personal trainer.
Yes.
Here's all of my training data for the past week. I'm trying to do this. What do you suggest?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the times, I'm not going to do that. You don't know what you're talking about. But sometimes you can pull out something that's very interesting
Yes.
and something that does work. So that
Agree.
is that is my AI rant.
Okay. No, I mean, I love it. I'm here for it. I try to tell people, like, I'm trying to get like everyday people to use it more frequently, simply because I don't want us to miss the train.
Hmm.
And I keep saying that AI is going to be as big as the internet. And
Hmm.
so, like, imagine like running a business now and you're like, oh yeah, I don't use the internet. It's like, well, you're gonna not be in business soon. I hate to tell you, because if
Yeah.
you can't be if you don't have a digital presence, you won't be found. And then if you won't be found, nobody can buy from you, nobody can buy from you, then that sounds like the business will start to dissipate. So, because AI is like new and I feel like it's like anybody's game, I'm trying to encourage people to just get used to using it to make their life easier, to make their life better. But we do have to build our platform with block, and we haven't found our developer yet. So I'm
Hey,
not saying, but I'm just saying that we need to just we need to have another conversation on the other
absolutely.
side of this. So before we wrap,
Wait, I have
um, yes,
one
please,
more. So,
everything.
one more thing about AI. AI, and this goes back to the personal branding side,
Yes.
people are going to stop Googling. And so right
Mm-hmm.
now, Google has just been something that's part of our lives. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
people, I mean, a lot of people do Google, but
Mm-hmm.
eventually it's going to get to the point where the experience of doing Google is, the experience of saying, "Hey AI, what's the recipe for apple pie?"
Mm-hmm.
Right? And it
Mm-hmm.
just spits it out. The that's just better. So
Uh-huh.
on the personal branding side, if you have enough stuff that's out there so that you've architected your ways in where if somebody says, hey, who are the best people to make apple pie, the way the data works is it crawls the internet, it pulls in all the data, and then it puts it in like a place where it can be easily retrieved.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're just in the space and people know your name, if people start typing stuff and asking things, your name will pop up, and that is a
Absolutely.
way better situation than ranking higher on Google if ChatGPT is like, hey, this person, they're the best person at making apple pies. You should reach out to them. So
Absolutely.
that's my
Agreed.
last thing.
Agree. No, I agree 1,000%. And I tell people I use it to like course correct myself, like, hey, this situation is happening. How should I handle it?
Mhm.
Hey, upload a screenshot and say, hey, could you respond to this email? I use it literally for anything. I don't let a thought linger in my mind for too long without going to find the answer now because you have it at your fingertips. It's
Yep.
like, why would I not use what I have at my fingertips? It's going to give me the answer in 3 seconds.
Yeah. Yes. And
Like it
that's
just
that's
it's
important.
just wild. And yes, there is so many things that is scary about it. But I believe that even with the idea that it's scary, we do need the people who are still going to go after it and do it because just the same way that people are going to use it for bad, we need the other people who's going to use it for good, right? Like so compatibility, understanding, knowing it, all those things are hugely important. Okay. So, because Block is, a home exchange platform and we talk about travel and living leisurely, are you a home sharer or are you a hoteler? Which do you prefer when you're traveling?
It depends on where we go.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, so if we're well, yeah, it depends on where we go. So
Yeah.
if it's like in the Caribbean, I do like a little bit of both, right? I
Mm-hmm.
don't really just want to be on the resort.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of want to go where I could see
Mm-hmm.
people, right? So I could be like,
Mm-hmm.
and honestly, I could be like, hey, this person's my cousin. I'm gonna go hang out at their
Right,
house,
right,
right?
right, right. Like, what's up,
Ex-
girl?
So, but if it's like overseas and I don't really like, I mean, that's overseas. The Caribbean is overseas, but you know what I mean.
Yes,
If it's
I
like
know exactly
in
what you mean.
Europe and it's like I'm gonna kind of want to have be in a hotel because I don't know the
The
customs. I don't know
security
the
blanket.
people. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, agree, agree. I am um if it's just me, I want to do the hotel, luxuriate, get all of the experiences, all of the services. But if I'm traveling with a group, let's do the home sharing, let's
Mhm.
do the B&B, let's do whatever, right? Okay, and so very last question
Okay.
before we wrap. Finish fill in the blank. More
Mhm.
people should travel because
Because it expands your mind and it puts you in a position in where you can experience other people living a different life than you are.
mhm. Agreed and agreed and agreed. Yes, traveling is so expensive. It helps you become better.
Yeah.
Okay, so how could the people find you? What do we want them to know before we wrap up?
So you can find me on, you could go to vermilionsky.com and fill out the contact link and essentially say like, hey, I found you on the podcast.
Yeah.
And if you say that, we'll kind of throw in like a nice discount for you. Um, Also, you can find me on linkedin.com/Kennick. You can also follow me here as well. I should be posting a little bit more on Instagram in the coming months. Just we're in like a deep sales cycle of just bring more people in, the hiring and kind of just like doing that loop. And so a lot of work, but like Q2 is like Vermilion Sky marketing. So reach out here, reach out on LinkedIn, follow reach out to Vermilion Sky at vermilionsky.com. And yeah, I sometimes I take some of the sales calls, so you may get me, you may not get me, but if you do get me and I know you from the podcast, then you know, I'll throw in something in there. Don't tell my project manager.
Well, okay. So thank you so very much for joining us on Word on the Block. We just like to have conversations with everyday people who are movers and shakers, doing things that people need to know about and really out here making a change. So thank you for doing all of that. And we're going to be in contact because it is time for Block to build our software for this version of what we're doing because I've pivoted several times. God's will, God's orders, and I'm just on assignment.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Um, and we're going to chop it up a little bit more. Thank you so very much for joining us. Enjoy
Perfect.
the rest of your Thursday evening.
Thank you.
And
And it was excellent speaking to you.
all right, be great. See
You
you at
too.
the top.
Oh yeah.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.